Hello and welcome back to Far Beyond the World. We'll be continuing where we left off. After Ranok decided to sneak into the room in the middle of the night and watch over us like a weird, creepy person. The following day greets me with a warm glow of the rising sun. I still feel uneasy about the previous night, and although I have bonded with Ranok, I think I might have stumbled upon something I'd be better off without. Something wrong transpired yesterday, but I don't know what. Did the wolf cross the line by sneaking up on me in the middle of the night? I shake my head in dismissal. It's not that. The wolf is quirky, true, but nothing else than kind and caring. I throw off the blanket, deceived by the warm hues flooding the room, only to realize that it's a really cold morning. Gently, I check the wooden floor with my toe, and a jolt of cold shoots up through my body. There is no other way around it. I simply hop off the bed with both feet immediately stinging in discomfort, but it doesn't last long. I am more concerned by the slight shivers caused by my naked skin. Pity that Ranok doesn't have any shirts, but at the same time, why would he? He's a wolf with fur covering him head to toe. I envy him the comfort of his coat. It's very warm and cozy. The memory of snuggling into his chest only empowers the sensation of chill creeping down my back, and I notice goosebumps appearing on my skin. This leaves me in a rather peculiar situation where I have to fashion some form of toga out of my bed linen. Once I am satisfied with my handiwork, I approach the window to look at the forest outside. The sun seeps through the treetops, splitting into a spectacular light show that I can't help but admire. I take in the fresh fragrance of the morning dew, almost identical to the smell I came to associate with Ranok. That's when I hear the wolfman stir in the next room. I swiftly approach the doors separating our chambers, opening them without much warning. My eyes focus on the wolf, who stretches out in a long yawn, all muscles tensing up as he arcs upward. I'm gonna have to censor this. He is completely nude, and try as I can, I do not divert my gaze from his bulging penis, donned by two furry balls swinging heavily beneath. I am so sorry, I yelp out as I just dipped my fingers into boiling water. I hide my face inside my palms, trying to communicate clearly it was just an accident. Emilio! A wooden scrape fills the room as the wolf stumbles back onto the table, desperately trying to cover his crotch. I turn away, clenching my teeth in utter embarrassment. I should have knocked. I hear the male scrambling about with the distinct shriek of the table moving along the wooden floor as he tries to get his loincloth on. I didn't mean to. I mutter apologetically, but quickly feel a surge of anger rising within me. Why are you sleeping naked? I call out, still avoiding eye contact and shielding my field of vision with a hand. Why aren't you? The male responds nonchalantly. I can't think of a riposte that wouldn't imply I don't trust him. Even if he has a creepy habit of staring at people in their sleep, my covers remain where they were. I groan in annoyance. Ugh, are you decent? Just a moment. He seemed just as embarrassed as I am. I'm sorry I barged in like that. It's fine, I'm good now. The wolf responds, allowing me to finally face him. He isn't good, though. All he has on is a ridiculously skimpy loincloth which barely covers his protruding bulge. I try to avoid looking at that area by diverting my gaze upwards, which is as much a mistake as I end up staring him up. I admire the way his upper body is sculpted, his musculature on full display. It is alluring to gaze at such a hunk, and as much as I want to fight it, my body reacts in a most predictable way. I feel slight tingling in my nether region and my pulse raises. God, I need a distraction before my entire face paints red. I smuggled some food yesterday for your breakfast. I don't want you to go hungry. He points awkwardly to a small wicker basket in the corner, obviously picking up on my distress. At moments like this, I envy the beastmen, their fur coating. At least they don't announce their embarrassment to the whole world as humans do. I quickly approach the basket and look inside. There are 6 eggs, 3 thick slices of pork, and some bread. I smile, realizing this is a universal breakfast as it can get. Would you share it with me? I ask absent-mindedly. I'd enjoy cooking for us. Ranok's eyes widen in surprise, but quickly his expression changes into a smile. If you're offering. He points at the hearth, which looks as alien to me as he himself does. In all honesty, I have no idea what I'm getting myself into, but anything is better than lingering in this awkwardness. Do you know how to go about it? I look at the stone fireplace, trying to figure out how each of the prongs and spikes plays into the whole rustic cooking experience. I'm a fast learner. I smile, approaching the hearth with confidence. I can feel its warmth embrace me, gently kissing my skin wherever it is exposed. It is a welcome sensation in this otherwise cold morning. Eggs, bacon, and toast it is, I say with a wide grin as the wolf's ears perk up and his expression lightens. I have to say, I like your newfound confidence. I smile back at the male, feeling thankful to have someone as positive and supportive as him taking care of me. Well, now that I kind of understand what's going on, I cut off once I gaze back to the hearth and my smile disappears. How would one even go about making breakfast in this living museum? Before I get to ask, Ranok approaches me with what looks like a flat iron plate on a long prong. It doesn't even have sides and looks like no pan I've ever seen, not that I can actually remember. Again, my mind is playing tricks, making me aware of things I can't recollect. Pan or not, I can see one could easily make a proper fry up on it. I place my hands on the handle, nodding to Ranok to let go. To my surprise, it is much heavier than I anticipated. Cooking utensils shouldn't be this heavy. Before I drop it on the floor, I feel the male's embrace, his form enveloping mine as he aids my hold from behind. I can feel his chest pressing against my back, as well as hear his breath just above my head. My heart skips a beat as his paw covers my hands, supporting the hold of the heavy pan. Easy now. He croons softly, helping me to properly hold the pan above the fire. I'm frozen. I just managed to calm myself down, and this, again, is sending me on the edge. Perhaps I should hold it while you take care of the rest. I nod hastily, wanting to get out of his embrace. Feeling his fur, his form against mine is more stimulating than I expected. As I untangle myself from his embrace, I rush towards a wicker basket. Part of me is angry that I dismissed the moment so soon, but I do not have the courage to face the embarrassment of getting aroused in front of him. Not to mention it feels all sorts of wrong. It's not much, but it's all I could scrounge up, he says almost apologetically. Well, it's plenty enough for me. I give him a reassuring smile and grab the wicker basket, letting it rustle merrily with my step as I bring it forth to the hearth. The wolf does a good job of securing the pan inside the fireplace. I watch as the flames embrace the rim of the iron plate, dancing merrily along the edges. I notice a large two-pronged fork resting on the mantel above. Reaching with my hand, I grab its handle and use it to carefully move a succulent slab of pork onto the pan. I guide the slice around the metal plate, allowing its fat to cover the whole thing nicely. The wolf watches intently, his ears perked up as I place another slice on the pan. Well, you know what you're doing. I guess. Told you have a good compass. I smile, giving him a happy side-eye. I crack the first egg on the stone wall of the hearth, carefully moving it over the pan. I could hear Ranok's tail sweep the floor like a broom. The wolf doesn't need much to get into a good mood. Once I spill the egg onto the hot plate, I look around for a place to discard the shells. Throw it into the fire, the wolf says softly. Makes for better fertilizer. Fertilizer? We use the ashes to enrich the soil, the wolf explains, helping me with the remaining eggs. I learned something new. I crack the remaining eggs one by one, watching our breakfast sizzle. It looks gorgeous with the red pork slowly browning and the eggs setting in tight. The smell is amazing, but I realize something is missing. Do you have any salt? Salt? The wolf looks at me with an amused smile. First the mirror, now this? I'm starting to think you might be a lost human noble. Pfft, as if. I grunt through a laugh. Then again, maybe I am. It definitely wouldn't be any crazier than talking wolves now, would it? Once everything is fried to perfection, Ranok moves the pan onto the table. The flame dances happily, filling the gap where the pan smothered it, returning to a full glow. I sit with my back to the fire, enjoying the warmth of the hearth and the radiating heat of the pan. I feel so snug, completely forgetting how dreadfully cold this morning is. Ranok cuts the stale bread into a few slices and impales them on a spit. "Want to wash up while they roast?" he asks, pointing to a wooden bowl standing on a cupboard in front of the table. I suggest you go first, as I tend to leave a lot of fur behind. The wolf smiles awkwardly, while splaying out his arms, once again inviting me to inspect his musculature. Yep, that's a lot of fur, alright. I reluctantly move away from my seat towards the bowl, not really keen on leaving the warmth of the fireplace, but also not wanting to come across as unhygienic. As I stare at the bowl, noticing my distorted reflection, I cannot help but feel like this is just a little bare bones. I don't know why, but I know I have to figure out a better way to get clean down the line. For now, however, this would have to suffice. I dip my hands first, quickly shuddering. Fuck, it's cold. I yelp, causing the wolf to laugh. Cold is an understatement. The water is frigid, my hands feeling as if I am about to lose my fingers. Helps to wake you up, doesn't it? The male laughs, looking back at the slowly browning bread. Well then, no other choice, is there? I scoop the water with my hands and quickly slush my face with it, drawing a raspy gasp. Damn, it's cold. I might as well be washing myself with a handful of needles. I repeat it a few times, then cleaning off my hands and arms as quickly as possible. My skin feels like it's on fire. I can see a small cloth resting next to the bowl, which I use to dry myself off. Once I'm finished, I quickly rush towards the fireplace to get back into the warmth. As I sit, Ranok removes the last piece of toast from the spit. When he notices my face, he snorts through a held-down laugh. Pink. He struggles to contain his amusement as I realize my skin flushed because of the exposure. The wolf goes to the cupboard to take his turn washing up. Sure, when you're covered in fur, that water might not be that bad, but fuck. I shudder just at the memory of it. I watch with curiosity as he washes up, noticing that he isn't actually soaking his fur, but rather brushing it with a wetted paw. He rises his massive arms up, biceps fully tensed, allowing me to see a lush fluff underneath his armpits, akin to what you would normally see in humans. Ranok begins to wash his pits, and for a moment I feel slightly embarrassed that his bathroom routine is more diligent than mine. That embarrassment changes to outright horror as I see him undo his underwear, cloth dropping to the floor with a soft flop and exposing his taut butt cheeks. He is being too diligent. I quickly drag the chair to the left, causing a loud wooden creak which draws Ranok's attention. Don't turn around! I stop him before he can accidentally flash me again. Sorry. My gaze is drilled into the wall separating the kitchen from the bedroom, but I can still see him moving in my peripheral vision, dangling over the bowl, leaving no room for imagination as to what he's actually washing. I shield myself from view with my hands and stay like that until the wolf sits back on the table. I'm glad I washed first. I mumble in annoyance. I wouldn't want to splash myself with his balty. Kind of you to wait, but as I said, this is more for you than myself. I regard the male as he pushes the plate towards me. I'd like to share, I won't be able to eat all this anyway. I look around the room to find some utensils, but it doesn't seem like there are any on display. Something wrong? The wolf asks, seeing my gaze wandering around the room. How do we eat? You have fingers, don't you? He chuckles, tucking one egg into his paw and shoveling it into his muzzle. I grimace at the idea of having yolk dripping all over my hands and face. Sure, maybe he can swallow a whole egg with his massive jaw, but I wouldn't be able to do that. I grab a slice of bread and break off a piece, using it to tip into the yolk. That way I won't risk splattering it all over myself. La-dee-da. The wolf scoffs at my eating. Guess I was right about you being a noble after all. He winks, to which I only roll my eyes, enjoying the meal. The toast is amazing and pairs perfectly with the creamy yolk. It is definitely a familiar sensation, something I had enjoyed before. I pull off a little bit of pork and sandwich it between two pieces of toast, dipping it into the egg. Damn, this is quite good. It's almost as if I'm discovering flavors of food anew. As I fashion another such bite, I notice the wolf looking at me with a curious smile. Instead of eating it myself, I instinctively offer the piece to him, which catches the wolf by surprise. Again, I hear the swishing of the tail, and my smile widens. Ranok opens his muzzle and gently takes the food from my hand, careful not to bare his fangs at me. I struggle to contain a blush as his lips delicately envelop my fingers, and I notice my left leg begin twitching in rhythm to his wagging. Not bad. He smacks his lips with a cheeky grin. I laugh quietly and go back to eating. My thoughts wander off as we sit there in silence. Ranok is really kind and supportive, but there's something about him I can't put my finger on. Everyone's really cautious about me. You're the only one taking this in strides. It's just the way I am. He shrugs with a weak smile. Maybe, but you're extremely friendly towards me. I'm always friendly. He smiles, gulping another egg in one bite. No one's always friendly. I look at him with a knowing gaze. He's hiding something, and if we're having an open conversation, I want him to be honest. He looks to the side with a sigh, scratching his chin. Ranok, I say pleadingly, but the wolf still avoids looking at me. At the very beginning, just before you untied me, you said to Vul that you need me to trust you. Why? Still nothing. I want to trust you, I do. But you also must trust me in turn. Why do you care so much about me? It's not just your coming-of-age ceremony, is it? There's something you're not telling me. You're more perceptive than I hoped. Not sorry to disappoint you in that regard. I mutter defiantly, ripping off another piece of toast. He scoots over ever so slightly, enough however to draw my attention to it. The day before my ceremony, I pray to the ancestors, and to Aluna. I ask them for clarity and guidance, to know if they approve of my vision for the future in our tribe. Your vision? What do you mean by that? Before long, I will become the next chief, and that will mean I'll have to stay here until I have to be laid to rest beneath my tree. Before that happens, I want to see the world, to explore and experience it for myself, so that I can learn and become better than my father and all those that came before him. How do you know you'll be the next chief? Is it hereditary like a monarchy? I ask, dipping the toast in yolk and chewing on it idly. Not precisely. Technically, the chief is elected by the Howl. The Howl? It's the gathering of the prominent tribe leaders. They're called upon to make important decisions like choosing a chief or advising him on hard issues. So they're like a parliament then? Kinda. He looks at me with a slight amusement. You're quite well informed. Yeah, well, not about the things that actually matter. I mumble, picking up some bacon. If it's elective though, how do you know you'll be the next chief? Because my father has made me his heir. In order for the Howl to choose someone else, they would have to be a challenger. He dons a wide, proudful smile. And I'm pretty much safe in that regard. There's no one who could seriously challenge me and hope to win. Vulgor could, I say cheekily, biting on another piece of toast dipped in yolk. He narrows his eyes at me with a smirk. Vul doesn't want to be chief. Lucky you. I continue to tease him. I could take him down, you know. He says defiantly through a grin, and I just flash my brows. I could. The wolf growls playfully as his tail wags. If you say so. I finally chuckle, seeing his mild indignation. So, you want to become a better leader, that's understandable. But how will traveling help you accomplish that? My people are dying out, holding onto an antiquated way of life. They're trying to preserve a piece of the world that no longer exists, while the rest of Avalon seeks to build a better future together. I might not trust the Tigers, but the allegiance of the Tigeron has kept the continent at peace for centuries. Well, for the most part. I roll my eyes. You did kind of go to war over a... Ranok flicks his tail in annoyance, giving me a stern look. He obviously finds the subject irritating. I wish you didn't treat this so lightly. That war was an outcry of a species who simply would not roll over and die. It was our last-ditch attempt to prove to the rest of Avalon that we are still here and that we are to be treated with respect. His words are empty. I snort. Respect? What about the tiger who paid with his life for a simple mistake? Where was the respect in that? You said yourself you wouldn't kill me if... Stop. He cuts me off with a pleading tone, but I can't stop. Not after he admitted that I would pay with my life for any potential damage to his tree. No. Where would your respect be in killing me over something so silly like a damn tree? I finished my unexpected rant, my heart rattled enough to even make me wonder what the hell just happened. Ranok takes a deep sigh, looking at me with a hurt expression. I can clearly see he doesn't want to even consider a possibility of having to kill me, but that thought will always stay with me. Those trees aren't silly. Yes, I know. They're graves or something, but you won't bring back the dead by killing the living. He looks at me with a painful expression, almost as if he pitied my ignorance. Without the named trees, our souls are condemned to the final darkness. We're gone the moment we draw our last breath. Final darkness? Death. So you don't believe in the afterlife? He scoffs, looking at me as if I were a naive child. There is no life after. The world is all there is. Once your light is extinguished, the final darkness falls upon you, and that is that. I cringe at the description, feeling almost familiar with it, as if I lived it, if one could live through death. That's why the trees are so important. They allow us to cheat death, if only for a little while. And you believe that? I know that. You can't know for certain what happens after death. I scoff. I understand the significance of the name trees, but it's just a belief. Killing people because of your faith is wrong, regardless what you believe in. Especially if, according to you, you condemn them to oblivion. He sighs in resignation, looking away from me. Perhaps you will never understand. An awkward moment of silence falls over us as we sit there uncomfortably. I almost want to laugh at the absurdity of it all. I'm still sitting in this strange cabin with a talking wolf, debating afterlife and ethics of capital punishment. But at this point, I decide to simply roll with the punches. Was it really worth it, going to war? No war is worth the strife it causes. But we did prove our point and the Tigeron left us alone. So far, the tigers seem to be more level-headed in all of this. Maybe. Ranok shrugs, finally facing me. But it weren't the tigers who got robbed of their land. It's not their people and their culture that began to vanish over the centuries. Perhaps that's why they can afford their moral high ground. Beware the wounded wolf. Huh? He looks at me surprised and I simply shrug. It's just an expression. I think. The wolf laughs awkwardly at the remark. I'm not sure he took it the right way. The past is the past, and no point fretting over it. Maybe. Although, as someone who can't even remember the day before yesterday, I can perfectly understand the need to hold on to the past, or whatever's left of it. I pull my knees up to my chair, wrapping my arms around them. But I can also see your point. We cannot change the past, and it shouldn't define us. At the end of the day, I'm still here for the most part. I don't know if my memory is all that's important in the grand scheme of things. All I really want to do now is to move forward. I don't want to be a kid lost in a cabin in the woods forever. Yeah. He smiles, looking at me with an almost proud expression. And neither should my people. Which is what we essentially are, a bunch of wolves stuck inside their cabins in the woods. The only way to move forward for them is to join the other kin in their endeavor. That's what I want to do as a chief. He pumps out his chest with a proud expression which draws a smile from me. It's nice to see someone so determined and confident, someone who has their life and goals all figured out. I think it's a good policy. Oh? United we stand, divided we fall. He narrows his brows with a cheeky smile. Look at you, quoting wisdom out of nowhere like a shaman. I laugh. I have no idea where all this is coming from. My mind is just as blank as it was, but there are echoes of things coming to me just at the right moment. Perhaps I am one. I joke, drawing a laugh from the wolf. He bops me with the shoulder and I chuckle, glad the tension between us dissipated. I'm not even sure what caused it in the first place. That anger I felt came out of nowhere. Anyway, in order to achieve all that, I actually need to see what's happening beyond our borders. If I want to unite my tribe with the rest of Avalon, I need to see what Avalon became. And I can start this quest by bringing you home. I smile, seeing him so serious. I cannot help but ruin the moment. So, in a way, you simply see me as your ticket out of here. A ticket? He blinks, and as the silence settles, it's clear he doesn't understand the word. Fuck, do I? An excuse? I propose, and he thinks it over, eventually nodding reluctantly. Yes, in a way I do. But there is more to that. I ask the ancestors for a path. A path other than what the tribe would normally allow me. A path that would lead me to places none of our wolves ever visited before. And then I found you. He smiles, placing a paw on my hand. A human with no humans around for thousands of miles. At that moment I knew you are the path I wished for. Not only did the ancestors answer my prayer, they also gave me a sign that my plan for our tribe has their full support. And the first step on my journey to become a worthy chief is to deliver you back to your own people. I look away at the window, lost in thought. This explains a lot of his behavior, why he's so familiar and friendly, but I remain unconvinced. Sure, all of this is quite a coincidence, but at the same time, I'm not a path. I'm just a lost person in the woods. That, or I'm just asleep and waiting to finally wake up. Well, I'm glad it's you who found me. I truly am. Had it been Vulgor, I would not be sitting here having this conversation, that's for sure. I still don't agree that I'm a path, but at least I understand what you want your path to be. And I will gladly walk it with you. I smile, happy to know I'll have him as a companion on my way home. If I remember where home is. You'll never go back. My heart sinks to my stomach as a feeling of utter defeat overtakes me. What is it? The wolf asks with a concern, seeing my sudden mood swing. I'm just worried. He smiles at me, ruffling my hair. First, we need to get your memories back. In the meantime, just enjoy yourself. Granted, you're nice and all, but I can't enjoy myself when I feel as if I was just born yesterday. I grumble, looking down at the food, slightly resigned. That's because you're not allowing yourself to. Stressing over this won't make it go away any faster. His paws reach up to my chin, lifting it up so that I meet his eyes. You lost your memory. Nothing can be done about that. And He grimaces in a playful way. I broke our laws by bringing you here. Can't change that either. Those things are beyond our control now, but we can control how we deal with them. From now on, things can only get clearer. Isn't it all exciting? He grins, voice full of confidence and pure thrill. I can hear his tail swings widen, brushing every few moments against a chair. And just like that, the odd feeling of dread that held me down is simply banished, gone without a trace. I sigh with a thankful smile. I guess you're right. Of course I am. He laughs. A week ago, I was just going about my boring daily life, and now I'm having breakfast with a human. He leans in. What are the odds? His teasing whisper draws a reluctant laugh from me. A week ago, what a concept. Just think about it. What does your compass tell you? I pause to really consult my inner feelings. Even though I don't remember my life, I know it was nowhere near as crazy as this. I finally reply with a chuckle. See, that's a good thing, right? I finally nod through a smile, eating up another piece of yolked bread. I guess this is an adventure of sorts, something out of the ordinary, and if that's the case, I'm glad to share it with him. Somehow this wolf makes me feel as if I could face anything as long as I have him at my side. Also, his reactions suggest to me that he was rather lonely before I showed up. He pretty much revels in my company despite me not being the easiest of guests or cheeriest of people. Then again, from what I hear so far, I can't blame him. Their lifestyle feels more like something suited for a penal colony than anything else. No wonder he finds my company so enticing. We continue eating our meal in silence for a while, Ranok clearly just enjoying himself while I contemplate this whole situation. I realize that the shadow that stalks the recesses of my mind isn't even there when the wolf is around. It's almost as if Ranok banishes it completely. He has this uncanny ability to calm me down, even if it doesn't make any sense. It's a very comforting thought. Thank you again for saving me. Don't mention it. I nod quietly. I don't think he really realizes what I meant. He saved me in more than just one way. Without him, I don't think I would be able to deal with all of this as well as I do. I recline comfortably into the chair, just enjoying the warmth of the hearth, but it doesn't last too long. Ranok, it's me. Get decent. We can hear Verissa's mumbled voice from behind the door. I look at the male confused. Did she also walk in on him in the past? It's your cue. Hide. Oh. I nod in understanding and rush back into the bedroom. I close the door behind me, putting my ear against the wooden planks. Come in. I hear Verissa enter the cabin, accompanied by a set of heavy footsteps. I assume it's Vol. The sound of the other door closing barely reaches my ear when I am pushed away with the force of the bedroom door swinging open. I am squished into the wall, struggling to keep the doors from crushing me. Where is he? Here, I mutter as the door pulls away from me. I can see Verissa looking at me with an impatient gaze, holding some sort of small wooden container. What are you doing? I was hiding. What a fine job you did of it. She scoffs, waiting for Ranok to join us. As he closes the door behind him, he regards his friends with an expectant gaze. Well, what's the plan? As much as I hate it, we're going to follow your initial idea. What? The wolf blinks and I share his confusion, more so since I can see a barely contained smirk behind Vulgor's stone-cold expression. I thought you said the whole sanctuary thing was a wash. Yes, but there are two things that we can do to make it less so. What things? You're going to love it. Finally, the black male allows a smirk to stretch across his muzzle. It unsettles me a lot. Stop being cryptic and simply spill it out already. Verissa doesn't say a word, clearly not comfortable with whatever they had come up with. But I can see Vulgor's gaze drill into me, and as he narrows his eyes, it finally dawns on me. Oh no. Wait, you said only gravely wounded kin. I cut off as Vulgor arches his brow in a satisfied smile. We need to fix this little lapse in our argument. I feel my heart sink into my stomach and I automatically move towards the bed to sit down on it. I hear a growl brewing inside of Ranok's throat, his hackles rising as he widens his stance. You're not suggesting what I think you're suggesting. Spare me the theatrics. You asked for my help and here it is. She looks at me with a calm, calculating gaze. I knew it was our only way forward yesterday. However, I first had to commune with the spirits to make sure I am not making a mistake. And this is what you came up with? I jump as he spits out in anger, snarling at the other wolves. Vul is right, you're high as a fucking kite. I hear a melodic growl rise from the female as she only gives Ranok a side eye. Watch it, she utters softly through her fangs. It's either this or the human gets killed. I will not allow it. Then we will report you to the chief and simply end this madness. The female waves her paw dismissively. I cannot help you if you are not willing to listen. I try to contain an involuntary shiver rocking my body as my heart races through my chest. They aren't here to discuss options. It's an ultimatum. I can see Ranok getting more and more rattled, and I want to avoid another brawl. Ranok. I struggle to speak through my clenched throat. It's fine. I try to reassure him, but the wolf doesn't pay me any mind. The fuck it is? Even he understands. Vulgor nods to me. Since it's a human's life on the line, perhaps he should have a final say. The black male looks at me expectantly and I freeze. What do they want me to say? I don't mind getting hurt. I struggle with responding, my lips trembling. Don't say a word. Ranok commands and I straighten up like a scolded child. He's looking at the white female with anger. What was the point of even communing with the spirits? He asks mockingly, as if doubting she even did it. Because we are about to lie in the face of our ancestors. Even if we hurt the human to make him look wounded, it will be a lie because he wasn't wounded when you brought him here. And what? They agreed? They told you that mutilating him is a great idea? He continues to snarl, and I can see that this whole concept doesn't sit well with him, almost as much as it doesn't sit well with me. But at the end of the day, it's me who has to suffer, and if it's a choice between death and getting them in trouble, or following whatever scheme this female cooked up, I don't know. I'm so conflicted. The ancestors didn't say anything, which I simply take as a lack of their objection. Conveniently. Even now, Vulgor cannot help himself. His indifference and calm demeanor somehow helps me steel myself, and I stand up. Okay. They all regard me with surprise, Ranok more so than the others. Let's do this. I can't believe I'm actually saying this. You're not serious. I am. I look at him sternly. I appreciate his protectiveness, however, it doesn't help us here. If it's the only way... I look to Verissa as she winces in discomfort. Trust me, if there was any other... I know. I nod. I believe she wouldn't have suggested this if she had a better idea. After all, she's pretty adamant that she saves lives, not endangers them. I approach the white she-wolf with a reluctant step, stopping just a few paces away from her. So, what are we talking about? I look at their serious muzzles one by one. One of you will maul me? Vulgor stifles a chuckle, looking at me with a half smirk. You'd like that, wouldn't you, piglet? Shut up! Ranok growls again, forcing me to place a hand on his rattled chest. Emilio, this is... I move my hand to his muzzle, cutting him off. His outbursts aren't helping, and I want this to be over with. So what then? Verissa looks to Vulgor, who pulls out his dagger, presenting it to her. I grimace, seeing its sharp tip glistening in the sun. You're gonna stab me? I look to the she-wolf with a worried expression. It's not... I don't have enough experience to not actually hurt you, and as a shaman, I took an oath. So did he, and I'm sure as fuck I'm not going to do it. I didn't ask you. Vul is the only one who can do it safely. The black male regards Verissa with a slight discomfort. I did swear on my moonstone not to hurt the human. The point here is to do the exact opposite, to make it look bad, while it being nothing more than a flesh wound. You're not going to hurt the human, you'll be saving his life. You're playing semantics. Ha, now it bothers you. He snorts. I think this will hurt me no matter how well you dress it in words. I mutter with resignation, glancing to Vulgor. The black male is quite calm, his expression not entirely cold, and almost sympathetic. Or perhaps I'm just seeing what I want to see. No, he cannot be the one to do it. He gets carried away too easily. Ranok, you're obviously too emotionally involved in this. You'll either botch it up or make a completely unconvincing scrape. Vul is not only our best fighter, he's also an experienced butcher. I blink, shuddering at the second epithet. And that's better how? Because I know where to push the blade without damaging any of your innards. No! The grey wolf protests, but the female locks her gaze with mine. I'd say it's only fair for the human to decide. Emilio, if you really agree to go through with this madness, at least let me do it. I look to Ranok's desperate expression, worried about the choice I'm presented with. I know the grey wolf means well, and I inexplicably trust him with my life. But at the same time, I don't know if I could look at him the same way if he were to be the one that stabbed me. So far, he is the anchor that allows me to stay calm and grounded. I don't want to lose that safe haven I have with him. But then I look at Vulgor, who simply raises his brow expectantly. Can I really trust this brute not to go overboard? Immediately, the image of his snarling snout flashes through my mind as he hangs above, squeezing the life out of me. I cringed, ominous feel of dread filling my mind again. His blade will taste my flesh after all. The question is whose paw will guide it. Damn it all to hell. I mean, it's kind of true. You wouldn't want the guy who is basically making you feel safe stab you. You would rather go with the one that you are already traumatized by. Plus, I don't think he would actually hurt you. Too bad. I'd rather go with Vulgor to do it. Emilio. I approach the grey wolf with an apologetic gaze. I can see he is taking it the wrong way, that he feels I don't trust him. I gently touch the side of his muzzle, petting him reassuringly. I don't want to associate you with being stabbed. He narrows his eyes, looking at me unconvinced. He already choked me. What's one stabbing going to change? I try to make him laugh, but he simply looks away. Vulgor is the one who chuckles at the remark, causing Ranok to idly growl. This is fucked up. I laugh nervously. You only notice this now? Things have been crazy around here since I woke up. He sighs, looking at me with sad eyes. I'll make it up to you, I promise. I know you will. Or that he will at least try. Not sure how one can make up for a stabbing. Ranok pushes past me and squares off with Vulgor, looking the other male right in his eyes. If you fuck this up, relax. The kid made the right choice and you know it. Have I, though? I feel the black paw land on my shoulder, drawing my attention to the larger male. I grimace as Vulgor winks at me. Get the moonshine. Gotta do this right. Ranok nods reluctantly and disappears into the other room. He returns shortly with a clay bottle in his paw. The grey wolf removes the cork with his teeth, causing a hollow popping sound. I can feel a boozy smell from where I stand as he passes the bottle to Vulgor. Here. The black male pushes the bottle towards me, and I look at him with confusion. Take a deep, long gulp. He says almost indifferently, and I grimace. The smell is making me woozy. This is some other level shit. But I'm about to be stabbed. I reluctantly look at the blade tucked behind Vulgor's belt and swallow heavily. Fuck it. I sigh and quickly push the bottle to my lips. Pour it straight to the back of your throat. Don't even try to taste it. He gives the advice just before I tilt my head back. I try to let the liquid wash over my mouth, but the burning sensation hits me within just a second. I cough like a drowning man, spitting out some of the alcohol along the way. The black wolf scoffs with amusement, quickly pushing the bottle back to my face. You seriously need to take more than that. Trust me. I nod, taking another deep breath. The smell of this concoction makes my head spin, and it takes me a few more moments to muster the courage. I try again to swallow as much of the burning substance as I can. I manage to take 2 long gulps before my stomach threatens to evacuate its contents. I smack my lips as I push the bottle away, taking a few rattled breaths. Fuck, it's disgusting. Ranok takes the bottle away from me and pulls the dagger out. I look at it reluctantly, seeing as the wolf douses it with moonshine. He passes the blade to Ranok to hold for a moment while he approaches me and touches my makeshift toga. I feel very awkward about this brute undressing me when I hear the linen fall to the ground. That sensation is empowered. I don't know if it's the booze already hitting me, but I feel flushed, and despite the cold air, my face is burning hot. Vol simply picks up a corner of the linen and soaks it with alcohol, gently rubbing and cleaning my left side with a damp cloth. This is where he means to stab me. I feel my heart race, my breath rattle, my vision blur. I can see he knows what he's doing, but it's going to be okay. He whispers softly, obviously picking up on my increasing heart rate. I made a promise, didn't I? He looks at me, holding up his moonstone to my face. Can't be sure if I'm not imagining it, but I can see a subtle, reassuring smile on his muzzle. I take a deep breath, seeing as he retrieves his blade from Ranok. The grey wolf has a worried expression, his ears folded back and his tail tucked. I'll be fine, I mutter towards Ranok, who nods reluctantly. It's almost funny that I try to reassure him just before getting stabbed. I feel the black wolf grab my shoulder and stumble back in slight panic. Shouldn't we wait for the boost to kick in? It will kick in when needed. His large, muscular arms swoop behind me, pulling me into an awkward half-embrace. Do you want to gag? He asks softly, but I shake my head. I remember what he used last time. Besides, I feel that a gag would only make this whole experience much more terrifying. You cannot scream. I nod nervously. Okay then, rest yourself against me and do not move. I sigh and push my body against his form. It almost feels like leaning against a wall covered with fur, each of his muscles hard like a brick. His left paw holds my back, pressing me harder into his torso as I rest my head upon his chest. For the first time, I get close enough to feel his scent. He smells like tree bark and earth, a very manly smell to be sure. I can hear his heartbeat, slow and steady, almost as if he were sleeping. Not a hint of stress or hesitation, and it allows me to steel myself for what's coming. I shudder as the tip of the blade gently pricks my left side, just above the hip as Vulgor aligns his dagger with my body. It's okay. Don't look at it, he says, drawing my gaze upwards to his muzzle. That's it. Look at me. My eyes swell as I gaze into his blood-red irises. Time seems to stop as I hear my breath echo, almost as if it's everything coming to a halt. In a split second, I feel a hard, wet punch to my side, with the cold metal handle pressing against my skin. I gasp, not even registering much pain at first. It only stings, and I hold my breath in disbelief, seeing that the blade disappeared into my flesh up to the hilt. Shh. I close my eyes, causing the tears to flow freely. I can feel him pushing me harder into his body as I begin to shiver. Then the gasps turn into screams as he pulls the blade out of my body. My legs go soft and I fully rest in Vulgor's embrace. I hear the knife clang to the floor as a black wolf prevents me from falling. He covers my mouth with his paw, while another set reaches out from behind me. Shh! Emilio! It is a pain like I've never felt before, radiating from the wound and shifting rapidly between sharp, painful twings and dulls, hammer-like poundings. Vulgor shushes me while I try to contain my wailing. I keep hyperventilating with his paw still covering my mouth. I open my eyes, meeting their worried gazes. I try to reach my throbbing side, but Verissa quickly rushes in and pushes my hand away. "Don't touch it!" She scolds me, carefully inspecting the wound. I just look at the ceiling, regarding the same planks I looked at the night before. I close my eyes, crying out in another surge of agony, severe pain radiating from within the wound. "It's fine. It's deep, but almost no bleeding. Pushed in between the skin and the muscle. Right. Get him onto the bed." I almost thought people pass out when something like this happens, but no matter how distressed I am, or how much pain I'm in, I can't faint. My mind is clear and sharp, although everything seems to happen in slow motion. I feel as if I levitate, drifting lifelessly across the room. I see them move me onto the bed, but with Verissa dousing my wound with moonshine. It stings like hell, but it's just a minor inconvenience compared to the agony my entire left side is in. Then the female opens her little container, dipping her paw into what looks like some sort of ointment. She rubs it generously onto my wound, saying something to the others, but now I can only hear muffled sounds. My vision begins to blur, just as I notice Ranok's sorrowful expression appear above me. I reach out to him, but I feel an odd weakness overtake me. Just as my hand is about to drop back to the bed, he grabs it, kneeling next to me. "It's okay. I'm here." I hear his voice echo, as if we were in a cave. I'm sorry he has to see this, his distress clearly visibly making this much worse. The room spins a little and I feel like vomiting. The female begins to cover my side with bandages, however my head gets increasingly heavy. I think the booze began to hit me, and the pain, although still great, begins to dole out. My eyes are hot and dry, and I need to close them just for a moment to give them rest. Their muffled conversation begins to fade, as eventually I just let go and drift away. There's no more pain. And that's where I'm going to leave it for now. So, I just got stabbed. That was something, I guess. Thankfully, Vulgor appears to know what he's doing since he's a butcher, which I guess is a good thing. Well, anyways, thank you all for watching / listening. Actually, I'm curious, what do you think would have happened if Ranok had been the one to stab me? Well, to stab the character. Would it have been a little bit, worse? Leave a comment down in the comment section what you think, or if you've played this yourself and you know what happens when he stabs you instead of Vulgor. Because to me, it seems like the best idea would be to have the Black Wolf stab you. So anyways, thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Far Beyond the World yourself, there will be a link down in the description. If you would like to support the creator, there will be a link down for their Patreon. If you would like to follow them on Twitter, there will also be a link down for their Twitter. And yeah, and I guess I will see you guys later, and bye-bye.